Hey, we're in this series about relationships, and so far I think it's been really helpful, right? Exploring, all the different seasons that we have in life. And wasn't this a great example of how life really looks sometimes? Yeah? Can we give them a hand? Yeah. Big hand. Today we want to kind of, speak a bit more about family and future. And we know all our community, each one of us we have a family, right? And all of us have a different story in the context of how our family looks. It's quite interesting, Zols, that right in the beginning of the Bible, like the first family, like God's ideal plan for humanity to be in great relationship with each other, gets destroyed by sin. And as sin destroys, we have like the very first family, the brothers, and one of the brothers actually kills his other brother, all right? So that is pretty dysfunctional. And if you read through some of the more of the stories in the Old Testament, there's a lot of dysfunctional families, a lot of hurt, a lot of brokenness in the context of, family life, and especially in the Bible. And so there is this kind of this ideal and this real there's this ideal that, family could be probably the greatest gift and blessing in life, but also it can be one of the most hurtful and the most traumatic places that, some of us have to navigate through in life. And so today, we want to speak a bit more about family and future. We don't know everything about it. And we want to also interview a few people and just hear some ideas and thoughts and how we can actually, what's helpful, what has helped them, and what can help us, navigate relationships in our family life.
Yeah, and we're definitely not here as experts. We're new to the whole field, and that's why we've asked others to come and share today. But I just think of our family here, and to us, like, everybody in this room is family, and no matter what sort of family you have come from, whether yours is more like the reality of what we've just watched, or if it's the expectation, today is still for you. And I love the whole word of whānau. To us, the word whānau is more than just family. It's more than just blood. It's a community of people doing life together, and that's us here in this room. So don't tune out if you think, family's not for me, this one's not for me. It is for you, and you're a part of it, and we're going to have an awesome discussion today. And so we'll invite on those who know a little bit more than us. We're new to it, so why don't you give a hand as we have our other speakers come and join us. So we have the lovely Roslyn, Lana, and Rob. Thanks for joining us, guys. So I've obviously already given away their names, but it would still be super cool for you guys to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your family as well, so everyone can get where we're all speaking from.
Okay, well, I'm Roslyn. Hi. So I have got 2 kids, Megan and Ben, and a husband called Lindsay. Oh, there they are. And Volta in the middle. That's my family. So as far as context, the family that I grew up in was pretty, I think a bit dysfunctional. My mum split up with my dad when I was 5, was single until I was about 11, and then remarried to someone who didn't really want to take on someone else's kids, and was pretty insecure and jealous and quite an angry man. So that was teenage. And then when I married Lindsay, I kind of hit the jackpot, and I always knew that I wanted a husband or a partner who was secure in themselves, was really important to me, and could hold his temper. And that's what my kids have been lucky enough to grow up in. So as I was sitting there, I don't know who's more nervous about me being up here, me or my family, because in the family I'm probably the one with the least active filter. And as we were sitting there, and Zales is like, we're bringing up some experts, Lindsay's like, make sure you say you're not an expert. So that's us.
Roz, I don't know, are you an expert with Volta, and any thoughts around there?
I'm a work in progress with Walter, but fortunately, he is a very patient man, and we're lucky to have him. Although I should say as well that music that you just listened to was my wedding music, and we're fairly far down that track, and I think I'm going to need therapy after that.
Oh.
It was actually also Rosalind's son, Ben, who was playing
Oh,
the
yeah.
dad, so that was a little flash forward for you in his life.
Yeah, engagement ring featured.
Exciting. How about you, Lana?
My name's Lana. In my childhood family, I guess I was born as the first child to my mum in Harara. My third child for my dad. I did grow up with both my parents in the home, and my younger sister, my older two sisters came and stayed with us during holidays. So that was always cool. As an adult, I guess I married quite young, at 20, and then embraced the whole family aspect when I was pregnant with Serena, but that soon turned to solo mum type family. So that was for a 3 or 4 year period, and then after that, Peter and I met, and that was a second chance at life, I guess. So we've been together for 18, nearly 19 years, and we share, lucky to share the 3 kids together. So we've got Serena, Jessica, and Blake.
Yeah, cool. And how about you, Rob?
Good morning, my name's Rob, and this mic is super loud.
We might have to turn your one
Might
down
have to
on
turn
some
one.
things.
I don't need no volume and laugh. I've got a wife, and Jessie and Jamie. We come from what you could say a normal type of family. My mum and dad were married a number of years. My dad passed about 5 years ago. Charmaine's parents are, mum is with us. Her dad passed away 6 years ago. And when we got married 22 years ago, we came from a big family, but now our future family here looks very different to what we had thought back in Africa days. But yeah, good to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
That's cool. So today we titled the topic Family and Future. And so what is that, what comes to your mind when you think of family and future?
Not all at once, eh? If you notice, Lana's got whole typed out notes, and I'm not winging it, but it's then.
In that case, we should ask someone with the notes
Yes.
first. Ros, what do you think? What do you think family and future means to you?
Family and future for me probably means something that we kind of learned when we went to parenting courses. So because I just made us go to different courses and read different books all through the years. And maybe that was because I was like, wow, I'm out of my depth here. You think that your parents knew what they were doing, or the people that you saw parenting when you were little, and don't realise that you're going to be navigating it just kind of winging it, really. And it's always changing. So I think family future for me probably means what's now isn't going to be the same as later. We're all going to change. The stages are going to change. The needs and the pressures are going to change. But we went to a course by a lady called Yvonne Godfrey, and she talks about, she especially works in equipping parents to help their kids to be ready for adulthood, like teenagers. She calls it parenting young adults. And she said when you're parenting, it's really, really good to think about what is your end goal. Like, what do you want for your kids eventually? What do you want your family to look like? And then from there you can go, okay, this because I want my family to look this way, or I want my young adult to enter the world independently, equipped with this, and this as far as skills and values, I'm going to make some choices that might be inconvenient or uncomfortable or frustrating now, because that is what I want. So actually nailing down a few tangible things that you then make choices based on.
Yeah, that's cool. That makes a lot of sense. What about you, Lana? Is there anything you intentionally do to think for the future?
I think out of all the topics that we've covered so far in the series, why didn't anyone tell me is I don't know, you got to laugh when it comes to family. It's, you know, it's those close relationships where you see the good, the bad, the ugly from everyone, and trying to navigate through that. Yeah, and it's interesting. I think we all want to have a good family, but achieving that is can be pretty tricky sometimes.
Yeah.
When we started out, Charmaine said, "No, we want like 7 kids." Like, what? That didn't work out like it is. But the way families worked out now, I'm more excited about family now than I was 20 years ago, and it's cool. I'm excited about future family more than I was then. If that makes sense.
Yep.
I don't want to give too much away.
That's good.
Sounds good. So we thought, Zaz and I, when we were thinking about this series, we really look up to you guys and your family. And we know you also have different traditions or like some fun things. Like, what do you do to create memories, to have like special times together as a family?
We do dinner around the table every night.
That's cool.
And that's what we do. And I love it because we can sit down and chat. And some nights it works out well, some nights it doesn't work out so well. But it's family dinners is important in my world. And if I think back in the old days, when I grew up, my dad had 2 other brothers. So Christmas was the bomb, because Christmas would be at one dad's place and the other one would be at the uncle's place and the other one would be at uncle's place. So it's 3 days of parties and presents and things like that. And that to me was a cool tradition. Love to carry on.
Yeah, that's cool. What about you, Lana? What's something you guys do?
Yeah, we're a little bit similar. Yeah, we usually have the evening meal, the dinner around the table. Yeah, some of the big ones are Christmas. We try to have Christmas booked in with family and extended family wherever we can. Also, yeah, summer's always a highlight for us. We love the beach and that sort of stuff. So we have a summer holiday with friends every year, and I think it's just building those the memories, the fun stuff is what we remember as kids. And yeah, and even though our kids are all different ages, stages, it's awesome to get together with, like, it doesn't have to be just your immediate family. You can hook up with all sorts of like friends and family, but it is still family, you know. I think those sort of stuff, those sort of things are really, really good. We always celebrate birthdays with a cake and get-togethers for everyone in the family. That's really cool. Mother's Day, Father's Day, it's usually a bit crazy, but usually the kids make breakfast in bed, which is,
That's awesome.
you know, it's really sweet. That's pretty cool. Yeah, other little things, I guess that will be lasting memories also. Peter has done stories at night time for the kids growing up. And we have Grace at the table. Yeah. At meal time too.
Those are great. Do you have any you want to add, Ros? What are some things you do?
Probably some similar things. When the kids were little, because my kids are big now. Mags is 21 in 2 weeks. Ben will be 19. So, you know, lockdown was great for me because I got my family back. Everyone's sort of spreading out. But when they're little, bedtime was a big deal. There was minimum 3 stories and then having a bit of a chat and then prayers and, you know, but it was a nice time to check in. I was a bed Nazi. Like, they had to be in bed by this time because that was going to take this long and I still wanted some time to myself. But one of the things, and I was talking about it with my husband last night, and I said, I think this is a tradition. And he's like, I don't think you can say that. And I said, I think it's good and I'm going to. But we introduced a Jonesy. So just because life is hard and intense, and recognising that, you know, kids carry a lot just navigating school and everything. And so every term they were allowed to nominate one day that they took off and they didn't have to pretend to be sick and they could do whatever they wanted. And it was a little bit of a, I can see Lindsay's colleague looking a bit sideways. But yeah, it was, you know, that's starting to grow a little bit of an awareness of self-care and also recognising effort is as much as important of, you know, I don't know, it's not celebrating, but, you know, recognising as achievement. Like, yeah, I'll take the odd Jonesy. I don't really. Lindsay doesn't.
Nice little add-on there. That makes you safe. Well, my next question, there's a verse in the Bible, and it's from Titus 2, verse 7. And so Paul was writing here, and he's speaking to a group of people, and he says, this is an example, basically, that I think we can apply to family. It says, in everything, set them an example by doing what is good. In your teaching, show integrity and seriousness. And honestly, that's something we see from all of you guys in your family already, the way you do good and have integrity and set an example. So what are some of your household sort of like rules or practices that you believe are most important for your family, like most helpful? What do you think, Lana?
It's me. I guess we have not sat down and stipulated these are all the rules, when you're at home or just this is how it's going to work. But we do have a couple of things. I guess we expect that everyone uses their manners, just be respectful to each other. Show some kindness and care for each other. I guess the set rules we have, just a couple. We expect that everyone helps out around the house. Everyone's got their own jobs. Sometimes we change those up. They swap depending on the ages and stuff. And the other one with technology and stuff, that when everyone goes to bed, we all the devices go in the kitchen, including mine and Peter's, just to keep it all.
That's cool.
Yeah, trying to set that example, I think, is good.
I think we should write that one down. Thanks, Lana. What about you, Roz?
I'll take notes. I've got all the notes down, yeah.
What about you, Roz?
One of the ones when they were little that was really helpful as far as me not going mad every single morning was no technology before you're ready for school. So if you want to get ready for school really fast, then you might have a half an hour on an iPad before you have to be in the car. But don't be on an iPad before you're dressed with your bag packed and you've had your breakfast and you're ready to go. That probably saved them from many meltdowns on the mum front. And again, I was talking to Lindsay, I don't know that we necessarily had a whole heap of rules that we're like, these are the rules. But we would have meetings, and Lindsay, he would let the kids know, right, we're having a meeting on Sunday. These are the things that we want to talk to you about. You think if there's anything else that you think you need to, that you're wanting to bring up as far as stuff that you're not happy with, and also think about what you want to say to these points. And then we'd sit down and Lindsay would it felt like run it a bit like a business meeting. Everyone would get to say their piece, and it wouldn't necessarily need to be, what other people wanted to hear. But if it's honest, like it's your chance, and we're going to have a decision at the end of this, so you might as well have said what your perspective was. Lindsay and I would reserve the right to veto or have final say, but it did mean that everyone was heard one way or another, and I think, we're not necessarily super consistent, but when it felt like it would be worthwhile to just have a clear the air and a touch-up, then,
I think that's so valuable just listening to what you guys did. I don't know about the format of the business meeting, but because I think, oftentimes, we're so busy and our schedules are so busy that we're actually not making time to actually have those conversations. And, if we just keep sweeping those under the carpet, or there's bitterness that I guess breeds in our homes. And I think so, that's really healthy to hear. And thanks for sharing that, Roz.
This next question's for you, Rob. So it's, you guys can add to it too, but what is your family value and how do you show that in your priorities? And I know that I can see in your family you guys have a number of values that really stand firm. So you want to share what some of them are?
I think it's respect for me is at the top of the pile, and respect for each other, and time for each other, because life is hectic. So we try and make time to be with each other. It's like dinner time will come in that one. Having fun with each other. Even if it's just a simple coffee date. Jess and I do a coffee date every Thursday morning because I don't have young mums to fetch on the other days. But we'll do a coffee date on the Thursday morning just before school, and it's a muffin or she has a caramel slice and whatever. But it's just making that to me is those moments. Love it. So it's not heaps.
It's the time thing.
It's the time thing.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you guys have something you want to add on that one? What are your values and priorities?
For me, I think the things like respect, being kind, honest, doing the best you can, all those sort of things, just trying to practice those at home. And also I think it's good to get the kids involved wherever you can with other people outside the home. Like, just use the everyday stuff that happens. You know, like if an elderly person drops their handbag and everything falls out, like, just use it. Like, get the kids to go and let's help this man or whoever, instead of saying, oh no, someone else will do it. Or I think just practicing those Christian values, I suppose, inside and outside the home, keeping it real.
Maybe like those things, yeah. Probably authenticity, as far as it's okay to be yourself and not necessarily a perfect version of yourself for everyone in the family. So if someone hasn't done something as amazingly as they could have, or, you know, probably kind of lost my rag again, just, you know, that's how life is. We don't all have to be perfect. Also, with that comes accountability. So also be willing to go back and speak to that person or to that situation and say, okay, guys, I dropped the ball here, and like that. Like, I've had to apologise to probably 7-year-old Ben when I have absolutely been in a rage and frothing, chasing him to get in the car where he's literally running for his life. You know, after school going, okay, that was not okay, and I was completely out of line, and I'm really sorry, but you've got to help me do this better. And part of that is that when I say it's time to go, it's time to go. You know, you drive your son to school for 15 minutes and he's sobbing in the backseat of the car. That's a parenting fail.
Yeah.
So with that, Ros, you know, being in each other's company all the time presents so many different challenges. How do you guys navigate through some of those challenges, family?
One of the things I learned was it is probably heaps more constructive to talk to conflict outside of the situation, because when you're angry or when the other person's angry, your brain is not processing. And if you both take yourself out of the situation and then go back and speak to it later, you're going to have a much more constructive conversation, and there's going to be a lot less damage to the relationship that you have with that person. So that was something that I learned. I think because the house that I grew up in, there was a lot of conflict. I wasn't very comfortable with conflict, and I would try and postpone it and put it off. But it took me 20 years. Lindsay and I probably didn't do conflict that well for the first 20 years to realise that there's got to be a better way of doing it, because then you just build and simmer. And I think at our 20-year anniversary, we actually were like, we've got to get better at doing this. It takes too much energy. So, yeah, just later.
That's good.
I think that's something we can all relate with. Lana, what do you think?
Yeah, I think conflicts bound to happen, and I did have in my notes when there was multiple people involved in the family and stuff, but Peter was like, well, if there's more than one person, there's going to be conflict, you know. It's like, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, it's bound to happen with the different personalities, the ages. Personality types is probably a big one. I guess trying to understand the different personalities in your family is probably a good starting point in dealing with conflict. I mean, yeah, we're not great at it at home. It probably is one of the biggest challenges. But I think try and sort it out as soon as you can, and if it can't be sorted out straight away, just acknowledge it and work on it and try and sort it as quick as you can. Because yeah, it does make things not nice for everybody under the roof. It's a bit of a flow on. Yeah.
And Rob, you were saying something the other day that adds to what Lana was saying about not letting the conflict drag on. What's something that you guys do for that challenge at your house?
We try not to go to bed angry. So and also being aware of what's going on in that person's world, teenagers, challenges, and just being aware where that and where their frontal lobe is sitting at, being aware of their temperament type and working with it, which does call a lot on yourself not to be selfish. Nobody hurt me, but there's more to it. So yeah, being aware of where the other person is at, where they're walking in life, school.
Yeah. I think the challenges and conflict things, like, I like what you guys were saying, that it changes for every stage and age, because, I mean, put your hand up here if you constantly have challenges and conflict in your family. I think it's everybody, and the rest of you may be too tired to admit it from dealing with it, but it's something that happens all the time. And there's actually, in the Bible, there's so many stories of it as well. Like we said, from the very beginning, family, there was conflict. It's something that's going to happen where there's people together in a room, right? There's a young leader, Joshua, in the Bible, and he was in charge of leading the whole Israelites, a huge group of people, and he was dealing with things where they had different beliefs and they had different religions starting to creep in, different practices, a lot of challenges and conflicts. And there's a verse that he speaks back to the group of people, and I'll share it with you. He says, he's addressing them, and he says, but hey, if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you because they kind of stopped following him because this looked better or that looked better, or I'd had a conflict with that person, so I'm going to stop now because I blame it on this or that. So he said, if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourself this day who you will serve. And then he says, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And I love that because he made a statement as a leader, and then he said it by an example, and that's something that you guys are intentionally doing. So when it comes to faith in the church, what are you doing to help lead your family in their faith? Rob?
Church is not a negotiable. You got to go to Gracegate, because it's where you learn. You're in a space where God is, and I need that for my kids. The other part I use on faith in church is I use almost any situation to help them realize what God is all about, or what good and evil could be about. Jamie and I are thick into Star Wars currently, and but Dad, why is he naughty? Well, he chose to be naughty. It's all a choice. So it's working. It's working in your surroundings to make it see fit for that person, or for that child, for that family member.
That's cool. What about you, Lana?
I think Rob's looking at my notes.
It's because he didn't write anything down.
I think trying to find the opportunities just in the everyday life to bring God into those, make it just so it's not a church thing, even though we think going to church is important as well. But just so it's not once a week type thing, that it's more of a lifestyle, that the faith is developed on a daily basis rather than, it's sad day, like, got to think about God today, rather than a ritual. That's probably the main thing. Practicing it, being a good role model, which, we're not perfect, so sometimes that falls apart. But I think just try and include God wherever you can.
Yeah, that's awesome. Ros, you were also sharing something about what you guys, some decisions you guys intentionally did for your family.
Probably the single biggest thing that we did was that we changed church. We had been going to a church that they were going to be amazing at knowing a lot of rules and having really good judgment eyes, essentially, but potentially wouldn't come out as kind people, and knowing a Father that loved them, who had given them grace and covered them with grace. And so when they were about 6 and 8, we started coming to Gracegate, and we've been consistently part of that community since then. And that was really because we needed them to be in a place where they would see people living out grace around them, and they would get to experience that with skin on rather than hearing a lot of theory but never seeing it lived out. Then we did miles and miles and miles of driving over the years. So they were kind of positioned and engaged in groups that Gracegate had on, that there were people investing in them as well, that weren't just us. So when the years came when they were teenagers, and they weren't necessarily looking to us as being like the significant voices speaking into their lives, or they didn't want to come and ask us the questions and things that they had. They already had those relationships there that they would speak to people about the things that were coming up for them. So, yeah. And praying for them over the years, pray for them, claim their destiny, those sorts of things too.
Love that. We wrote down here, like, if you think of everything, what is most important to you in the context of family that stands out to you? If you're thinking of the future, what is like the bottom lines that you would share with everyone here when it comes to family?
I've repeated it again. It's time and understanding with each other, spending time with each other. I wish I could go back and spend more time with my dad, and I don't want Jamie to lose or Jesse to lose out on that, so I want to spend time with them until they're sick with me. But that's cool. They'll circle back, and that's what I'm banking on is the time and friendship with them, family with them.
What about you, Lana?
Yeah, I'd agree with Rob. I think trying to fit as many fun things in as you can. I mean, we all remember the fun stuff, the good stuff from when we were kids. And I guess whatever it takes to grow the kids into a secure individual, like we talked about a few weeks back, being single and secure, I think speaking positively, encouraging. I think it's good to keep it real and talk through the bad stuff and things that need correction and discipline and all that as well, but don't hold back on the love either. I think it's important. If you're single and secure, I think you can move through those stages of any relationship and have a better footing to have a better relationship with whoever it is.
That's cool. Yeah, I've heard it said that like maybe the greatest thing you do in your life is as a parent who you raise, and I think that suits what you're saying, Lana, like helping create that whole person so they can go into the world and whatever is pushed against them, they still know who they are and their value and their worth. That's awesome. What about you, Rose?
Like Lana was saying, your kids are going to learn who they are in your home. So the words that you speak over them and the messages that they get, whether they are through action or through the words that you said, are the things that they will subconsciously take with them going forward. So try and speak to their strengths and build them up and speak into them what you want to see in them, what you see as their potential. Let go of the ideal so that you're not frustrated by that and you're not holding people to standards that are not attainable and not actually them. I still struggle with that a little bit. Every time I have an extended family get-together, I'm always a bit like, that's not the poster book family. And Lindsay's really good. I'll be a bit flat, and he's like, it's okay. It's what it is. You can't change it. Just accept it. Extend grace to each other. Not everyone's the same. Not everyone's going to handle things the same. Home is a really, really good and the best and first, I suppose, training ground for how you are going to navigate relationships in community with other people. Everyone's going to be different from you. If you can learn to do that at home, then that's the most amazing starting point. And as much as you extend grace to other people, extend it to yourself. Every day is a new day to do it better, to start over again. Forgive yourself for not necessarily getting it right, and just try and do better next time.
And that's so good, and that's if you have little kids, if you're talking about siblings, you're talking about your older parents, you're talking about even just the people you live life with, right? Tomorrow's a new day, and give yourself and the other person grace and try again. I think that's really cool. There's a pastor, we often share his messages here at Gracegate, Andy Stanley, and he was sharing a story about him and his wife set a goal, and as they started their new young family, and at that time they said basically they just wanted their kids to be able to want to come home when they're growing up, even though they didn't have to anymore, and that was their win. And I think that's an awesome thing as well that Wes and I have also chatted about. We just love them to know that it's a safe space and that they do want to come home, and I'm sure that you guys would think similar as well.
Are there any other gems in the context of family that, you guys want to just share today?
I think if we can love on each other more,
Mm.
so that your family home is that they know that is a safe love, that's a good love, that love them, squeeze them, squish them as much as you can, because I think love is important for them. Love God, love people.
And Rob, you guys do that so well in your family. You even said, you guys don't have friends, and I was like, what? But then you carried on and you said you have family, and everyone to you is family, and you do share that love. Your whole family does. I think that's awesome. Any other gems from you guys?
I think when it comes to family, there's so many pictures of what it could look like. I guess no matter what it looks like, we are born into a family, whether we like it or not, whether it's been a good family or otherwise. But I think that's sort of just accepted. It just happens. But to have that knowledge that we are born into the family of God, knowing that God loves us. I mean, I sort of grew up as a Christian, but didn't get a handle on that concept till, well into my adult life. Probably to be fair, probably only 5 or so years ago. But I think it makes all the difference, knowing that you're part of the family of God. And we don't have to wait till heaven to experience that. Hook up at church, see what you can do, meet some people. There will be some people that will genuinely care about you, get alongside you. And there's always a place that God has for you, for me. And I think that's good news, because family is messy. As much as there's heaps of fun and laughter, it can be hard.
That's so good. And you were sharing earlier, Lana, that you love that song, I'm a Child of God, because of that very same thing, right? Reminding ourselves, just who we are and how much God loves us. I love that. Anything from you, Rose?
Keep it short. It's hard to do family in isolation. If you want to do it well, I would say, draw people in with, community. Good people in your life. Be protective of the people you bring into your family. People add value. The right people, they're gems. We've got friends that we've been doing life with forever. They're family, You have your family you were born to. You have your family you choose. Don't underestimate that.
Well, thanks so much for coming up and sharing some of your thoughts. Was that helpful? Yeah. One of the key things that, I think each one of you mentioned was what you model and how important that is in the family. And honestly, I've seen that the way you guys do family, it's inspiring to myself. I love, Lana, your family, they're engaged in almost everything that we have. You're always serving so many people and everyone's serving. Rob, I've seen the quality time that you take with Jamie, and that's inspiring to me as a father. I want to become that kind of a father. And Roz, your house is always an open book. Everyone can come in, doesn't matter who they are, and you guys always welcome everyone into your family, and you're engaged in so many aspects here at Gracegate as well. And so, we really value you guys. Thank you for just, sharing some gems with us. And as we've said throughout this series, we're just starting the conversation. And we would love everyone to continue to have these types of conversations, be it with your friends or family. And just let's ask people who are ahead of us in the game, hey, what worked for you guys? How can I parent better? How can I love my difficult teenager? How do I get on with my spouse better? Let's grow together, and I think that's what church is for. So just appreciate you guys so much. Can we give them a hand? I want to end today just with a verse, and I think this is the crux of everything that we're speaking about in the context of family. And maybe Zals, do you want to read that for us?
Yeah, it's in Philippians 2:3-5, and it says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, Value others above yourselves, not looking out for your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. In your relationship with one another, have the same mindset as Christ.
And I think that gives us like the bottom line of, the way Jesus has led the way in the context of relationships. And I mean, if we could do that in our families, no matter if we're a child, if we're, a parent, whatever that may look like, if we could have that posture, and I guess that question, where can I help? Where can I add value to this family? We can all be contributors, and I think that grows a healthy family. So, thanks again so much. Can we end today just with a prayer? God, today we thank you that you're a father. You're a father to all of us, and you know our stories. Some of us have come from broken families where there hasn't been any love or grace. And God, in those spaces, we're so grateful today that we have a family in the context of church, and that you accept us, and that we can find, great relationships that can help us and move us forward in life. And today we're also grateful for the gift of family. Family can be something that's so beautiful, and there's so much love and care in a family unit, God. And I just pray for our families. I pray for protection. I pray that you can continue to grow healthy relationships in our families, and that they will just be catalysts of sharing your love as the family and the household just grows in love and care for each other. That will just flow out in their workplaces and schools and in the community. So we pray for that today. Thank you for the incredible people in this community who model that to us. And we just pray that you'll continue to teach us how to live a Jesus way where we're serving one another. So we pray for your grace and your truth in our lives today. In Jesus' name, amen.